This is the Good Regardless podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Ariano. Welcome back to another episode of Good Regardless. We're episode 6. Okay, we're climbing up there. I'm so excited that you decided to join me today. I'm your host, Leslie Ariano. And just wherever you're currently at, maybe you're driving to work, perhaps you're listening to this while you're working out, maybe you're on a walk, wherever you have me at, I appreciate you because I know that your time is valuable. So the fact that you're giving me an opportunity and just tuning in, I have to say it every time, y'all. Like, I definitely am so thankful for you. I've been going out on a lot of walks. Walking has been my jam. Like, put the headphones on. Sometimes I'm in the mood to listen to music. Sometimes I'm listening to podcasts. So yeah, walking has been my thing lately. And sometimes I'll walk in my own neighborhood, but I also like to walk in different neighborhoods. I don't know if that's weird to you guys, but I will go to really rich neighborhoods and take my dog with me, and I'll just walk the whole entire neighborhood and just look at the houses. And I don't know, that's fun to me. Like, it really is fun to me. And it's funny because the other day I actually went walking with Michelle, and I told her, I was like, come walking with me. We're going to go, because up Reseda, there's like another area that has like these really nice, beautiful houses. And I told her that I wanted to take her to see a barn, because when I went walking the first time, I usually don't have a route. I just kind of just go with the flow. I love just kind of aimlessly walking. I have my headphones on, I have my dog, and I'll just be like, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to make a right. I'm going to make a left. I'm going to go straight. So there's no route. And one thing I also discovered is that I actually do not like to walk in circles. Walking in circles to me is so boring, which is why I don't really love to walk around the school by my house, because there's a school, and I used to just do like 2 laps, but I don't know. I just think that's so boring. So I now walk and just, go different areas. But anyways, I was pretty much telling her that there was a barn that I wanted her to see that I actually had randomly came across one of my walks. And it was so cool because this barn was attached to a house, and it was on this really secluded hill, and they had ponies, and they had chickens, and they had sheep. And I just was so excited that I found this house that I was just like taking pictures of it. And I even, had Zeus stand there, my dog, while I was taking pictures of him with the freaking animals. So I told her, I was like, I'm going to go find this house. Let's go find it. So I had homegirl Michelle going all different directions in search for this house. And she was literally like, Leslie, I am almost 100% sure this house doesn't exist. And I was just telling her, yes, it does exist. I promise I've seen this house. So then we ended up giving up and we never found it. So I went back again with my mom to that same area, and I was like, hey girl, like, I'm in the area. I'm going to go try to find that house. And she was like, okay, girl. Yeah, whatever. Like, you're not going to be able to find it. And I was like, I will. I didn't find it. I did not find it the second time, but I feel like the third time, you guys, I'm going to be able to find it, because I realized that I needed to just go backwards instead of trying to retrace my steps, because I know how to get there, I think, from the back way. Because when I went with my mom, I low-key saw it from a distance, but we were like at the bottom of the hill, and I tried to get it to it and it just didn't work. So I'm excited to go back and find this damn house, because I'm determined now. Like, now it's become a thing where I'm obsessed with it, and I just need to find it again. If not, I'm going to go crazy. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys, but once, something is in my mind, and it's kind of like that itch you need to scratch, like, no, I need to find it type thing. It's like when you are trying to figure out a word and it's at the tip of your tongue. That's exactly how I feel about this freaking barn house. So please wish me luck in that the next time I go walking, I find it. But yeah, I'm really excited for today's episode, because y'all really sent me some good questions. You sent me some really good questions, and the Ask Less forum has really become one of my favorite ways to just connect with you guys. You guys send me amazing questions, and I love to give you guys advice. And I, just love that we get to have this kind of like a back and forth conversation, because you're asking me a question and I'm responding it to you. And I always say, like, you can hit me up on the DM if you don't like my answer. If maybe we need to go back and forth a little bit more, that's what I'm here for. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I also just wanted to share with you guys just where I'm at currently with the podcast, and just in general. Obviously, if you guys follow me on Instagram and social media, you know that your girl has been riding for Jesus. Okay, I've been posting a bunch of content that maybe you guys wouldn't anticipate, and I don't feel bad, but part of me knows that like when you follow someone and then they switch up the content that they're pushing out, you kind of get like, like this is not what I followed you for type thing. But at the same time, I have to remain true to what I feel is going to bring me the most fulfillment, in terms of what I'm producing. What I mean by that. So I've been honestly doing content, I feel like forever, like reels, makeup reels. It's been, the whole thing, trying to, keep up with, the fashion and the this and the that. And one of the things that I've always struggled with is finding purpose in that sort of content. So I love doing beauty content. I love doing reels, but I feel like there's so much more that I want to share. So really, this is my way of just bringing everything that I love together. I feel like we're so used to everything being so black and white. And if you do this, you have to do this, and you can't talk about this. And we're just so in our bubble. And, for a really long time now, I have been just trying to find a way where I am enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm also feeling like I'm giving something of value. So the reason why I've had this this shift in what I'm talking about, the content, is because that is simply where I'm at in my life right now. I am on this new faith journey, like I've spoken about before. I've, always have believed in God, but my faith journey is really just so different now. And it's really just, been such a priority in my life, and it's new. So obviously I'm discovering more and more each and every day. So naturally, what I'm experiencing in the real world, in my real life, is what I'm going to share with you guys online. And I know maybe for some of you guys, maybe it's not what you want to see, but I just appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to express the things that I want to express, because I know I could easily get on here and talk about going to the club and talk about, all my fun times, getting lit, and, talk about all these different crazy stories. But I feel like if I were to do that, it would simply be because I would be wanting to attract a larger audience. And I know, y'all, like, let's be real. We know where we live, okay? We know the climate of our society today. We know the environment of our world. We know what gets clicks. You know what I'm saying? We know what is popping, and talking about God and trying to just pivot and be more, deep, I guess, is very taboo. It's super taboo to talk about God on social media, to try to, express myself and just talk about the things that are really important. It's not normal for most of us to do that. And I know that, it's something that I have to constantly remind myself of. No, Les, like, even though you want to take the easy route out and, just do the fun and whatever everyone else is doing, that's not what you really want. Because my heart is telling me, even if only a few people resonate with this or whatever, that's more than enough for me. And this podcast isn't for people who just, have this crazy faith. This is for everyone. And I want to really just use my voice and just be able to express to you guys like the experience that I've had. And if I can help, anyone out there walk, a little bit more enlightened, I'm going to do that. And it's definitely never going to be for my own gain, because if I was trying to do something for my own gain, it would not be talking about God, because I know that that's not what gets clicks. But in my heart, God has already told me what I had to do with this podcast. God has already spoken to me and has informed me of the more difficult route that I have to take. Before, when I used to, post content and do all sorts of different episodes, like, I wasn't where I'm at right now. So back then it made sense, but right now that doesn't make sense to me. And who knows where I'm going to be down the line, but this is just where I'm at right now. So I just want to say thank you to all you guys for really just letting me just figure this out and just letting me express this new journey to you guys and welcoming me with open arms and just being there for me. Like, I appreciate you guys. I know like there's always, gonna be people on both ends that just don't understand. So what I've really been trying to develop is having tunnel vision and just knowing that no matter what, someone's always not going to like what you say, on both ends of the spectrum. You can say the best thing in the world and people are not going to like it. There's always going to be that pool. And that's something that I've really, have been trying to develop a thicker skin, because your girl is sensitive. Okay. Like, I be crying. Like I've told you guys, I'm super sensitive. So when I see stuff online and people are being mean, it gets to me, but I have to remember that I'm not doing this for that. Like not only do I not have time, but I don't have the space in my heart to invite that energy in. Like, I just don't have the space for it. So, thank you guys for just honestly being so supportive. And let's get into these questions, because y'all sent me some really good questions. Okay, so the first question that I'm going to answer is actually going to be from my type form. So if you guys don't know, I have a link in the Good Regardless Instagram, which pretty much means that you can ask your questions anonymously. I'm always going to keep it anonymously, but if you don't feel comfortable sending me a DM or answering the question story, then you could just use the type form. And this is another way to ask questions. So I have a question that says, "Hi Les, I have a situation where I have a coworker and she hangs out with my coworker group, but she gives me mean girl vibes. But there is no way I would ever say anything because she has been with the coworker group longer. But I know out of the group, she's saying that, but I know our group thinks she's mean girl vibes, but no one says anything and we just deal with it. What advice would you give?" So pretty much there's a group at work, it seems, and there is a mean girl in the group and no one has the guts to tell her that she's mean. Work drama is honestly on another level, and dealing with mean girls and mean girl vibe is no joke. I feel like us women need to work on really just loving each other more and just not being so mean to one another, because we just need to come as a sisterhood and just welcome everyone in with open arms. Unfortunately, we can't always play kumbaya, okay? We can't always be, peace, love, unity, and respect, okay, plur. What I would say to you, if you feel like there is a person in the group that is just giving you mean girl vibes, I honestly feel like sometimes it's best to just let that person be, okay? I know that it sounds crazy, but it takes two people to fight. Sometimes you gotta just let people be mean and mad all on their own in the corner, and you just keep doing you. You keep doing you, you keep being happy. And the thing is when you radiate that, of course, people are going to be mad when they're, maybe feeling insecure or they have all these other things going on. You don't know. So always try to remind yourself that what you see is just a part of the situation. You don't know what is going on at home. You don't know what that person may be experiencing. Obviously, that doesn't mean take disrespect and put yourself in uncomfortable situations. If you feel like this situation is causing you to, have a lot of anxiety and you're not being your best version around this person, then you have to set those boundaries and know that, it's your responsibility to not invite toxic energy and toxic behavior into your life. It doesn't mean you got to be mean to her or whatever, but sometimes it's best to keep people at a distance if, they're not going to bring the best out of you, or if you feel like you're getting a mean girl vibe from them, it's good to, share less with that person. Maybe you don't go gossip with that person. Maybe you stop having lunch so often with that person, because the energy that you keep around is what you're going to attract and what's ultimately going to get into your life. So my best advice to you would be to just keep that person at an arm's length. And I also feel like, again, I'm also for the having a conversation. A lot of the times this energy that we feel from people is just because we haven't had a conversation with them. If you feel like you can have a conversation with this person, just be like, hey, there's a couple things that I want to bring up to you in private, and say, whatever it is that you feel like this person's doing that's causing you to just think of her as like a mean girl. And if she is, continuing to do so, just, make sure that you are being respectful, because we're respectful no matter what. Okay. Like, I know let's be like, no, we have to keep ourselves at a higher level. You have to always operate on a frequency up here. Even if people want to go low, like seriously, some Michelle Obama, when they go low, you go high. Like, it just is what it is. And I know sometimes our pride doesn't want us to do that, but that is my best advice to you. Make sure that you just don't come down to that level. Make sure that you always are moving with grace, and that you are always being a light, and you're always being positive. And eventually she will get the hint. I hope that helps you. Okay. So my second question is, how do you get over self-doubt, even though everyone else believes in you? So how do I get over self-doubt? The first thing that you need to do in order to get over self-doubt is to understand that your thoughts and who you are completely two different people. Our mind will literally play tricks on us and have us thinking that we are not worthy, have us thinking that, we're not good enough. It'll fill us with self-doubts. But your thoughts, that means that your thoughts are now in control of you. And we as individuals, as strong women, need to learn how to control our thoughts. What happens is that when we start thinking a certain way and it starts, going into a spiral effect, and I know this because it happens to me all the time. I'm still working on developing this strength where I feel a negative thought or something's popping in my head, learning how to just be like, nope, we're not going to give that any time. That negative thought, that self-doubt, I'm not going to pay no attention to you, because that negative thought in your mind isn't you. And you need to remind yourself of that every single day. And I know even people like, affirmations, like sometimes it's awkward for us, but you need to think of yourself in that way. Like when you get these negative self-doubts, just remind yourself of how far you've come, and remind yourself of, who God says you are. You are a powerful woman. You are a woman of grace. You are strong. You are capable. Those negative thoughts are always going to be coming from the enemy. And the first thing that the enemy is going to try to do is to make you doubt not only yourself, but make you doubt what God says about you. And God says that you're amazing. Okay, period. So I would really suggest to just, as soon as you get that thought, recognize that thought isn't coming from you. That is the enemy trying to get into you. So as soon as you feel a little bit of self-doubt and you start spiraling, tell yourself that is not me, and learn how to differentiate those thoughts. Learn how to take that thought, that negative thought, and immediately realize, hey, that's not me. Throw it away. Some things that I like to do is just like, seriously, in my notes, you are powerful. You are gracious. You are, worthy. You are strong. You are resilient. Like, we need to hype ourselves up sometimes, because they be coming for us. They really do be coming for us. So that's what I would advise you to do if you're dealing with self-doubt. I also really, I'm gonna throw it in there again, but going on walks helps me really clear my mind. When I feel like I am being just overwhelmed and overconsumed with bad thoughts, I ain't got time for that. So I go outside, I put some really good, happy music on. I put my worship playlist on, and I just feed my mind just a bunch of positivity. Maybe you log off on social media for the day and you just put positive words and affirmations in your mind. And I really, truly believe that that'll help you. Okay. So the next question is, girl group of 3+, how do you manage not making someone feel left out / favoritism? Or is it inevitable gonna happen that you guys break up? Whew, girl. I love that question, because I don't know why, but I just feel like friend groups of 3 are just, they're so hard to maintain. Like, I don't want to say it's impossible, because it's not impossible, but a friend group dynamic with 3, they just, they almost have to be just really thoughtful and well, taken care of, because it's so easy when we have 3s for 2 people to feel like, they're closer, for 1 person to feel left out. Is just uneven, right? And I've been on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to 3+ friendships, or friendships of 3. Let's just, to keep it simple, friendships of 3. I've been on the spectrum of feeling left out. And I've also been on the side of a person feeling that I've basically leaving them out. And both parts have really just taught me so many things. I feel like if you are in a friend group of 3 and you feel like maybe you're the one that feels like you're getting left out, naturally, we are going to want to retreat, right? So if we have a friend group of 3 girls and 2 of them are getting really close and you just start feeling like they're leaving you out, you start feeling like, they're closer to each other and that they're not really like vibing with you anymore, it's so natural for us as women to want to retreat because I don't want, to bother you, or I don't want to be an inconvenience, and our feelings are hurt. So that's, your feelings are valid. But what happens when you do that is that you cause the situation to become bigger than maybe it was supposed to be. So when we retreat, you're sending a message to the other 2 people saying, oh, like, I do prefer to be alone, when in reality, you don't really know unless you have a conversation with them, why maybe they're doing things without you, or you just don't know because you decided to take yourself out of the equation. So what I would tell you is to initiate group hangouts. If you feel like they're hanging out without you, initiate group hangouts. Like when they are out posting on social media, be like, oh my gosh, girl, like I wish I could go, like, or not say you wish you can go, but just be like, hey, like TFTI, like, how about you invite me next time? But again, like it depends on how you feel their dynamic is. Like if you feel like they're doing it, like, kind of out of spite and to be mean, then I definitely would have a conversation with them and just be like, hey girls, like, like I just feel like, I've been feeling a little left out. Like, I was wondering if, we can go grab a cup of coffee. Like, I love you guys. Like, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. And 9 out of 10 times when friendships are having issues in groups of 3, it's because of a miscommunication and we're allowing ego to take centerfold in our friendship. So I would really, if I was the one getting left out now, I'm going to be like, I'm nipping it in the butt right now. Like, what's up? When are we hanging out? All 3 of us, and make sure that instead of retreating, that you're going out of your way to hit them up and ask them to hang out and you initiate it. And if you are on the other end of that equation where, maybe you are closer with someone and you feel someone getting left out and you feel like they're kind of retreating, I would also say to just be very communicative. I don't even know if that's a word. Communicative? Be very communicative. I don't know if that's a word. Communicate is what I'm trying to say. Communicate with your friends and let them know, like, hey girl, like, we're going out right now together, or, wish you could come. Like, let's set up something to hang out again. Or, just make sure that like you are including the other person in the plans. Even if maybe you just want to do stuff, just you and your other friend together. I feel like taking the other person's feelings into consideration is super important. And even though you may not be doing it in a malicious way, I think it's important that, you have that conversation, because I've had that brought up to me before. Like, oh, like, I felt like you were excluding me. And I'm so grateful that that person brought that up to me, because right away I was able to be like, that's not what at all was trying to happen, what I was trying to do. Like, I was never trying to, make you feel not comfortable. But it just happens that when 2 people are a little bit closer, naturally that relationship is going to just seem like they're trying to exile you out, but that's not the case. It's just that friendship has developed a little bit more. But when I've gotten the opportunity to talk to a friend about this, I'm so happy that I was able to see, oh, actually that wasn't my intention. So just making sure that you're really communicating. And I don't think it's inevitable. I feel like we can all be really strong group of girlfriends. And one of the equations that I feel like brings successful girlfriend groups is no gossiping. Like, I know sometimes we feel like we're just white gossiping, and like, we're what I mean by that is just like, it's kind of like not like a white lie, but we're gossiping in a way that we think is not harmful. Even if it's, just something like light, and we're just like, we want to chit chat, we want to chismear. Like, it's just in our nature for women that we want to just kind of just, banter and kiki and just, gossip a little bit. And what I would highly suggest is, if you are in a friend group, never gossip about each other at all. Even if you feel like it's not hurtful, or even if you feel like it's not that big of a deal, that basically brings in the energy to your friendship to start just really creating drama and problems. So I would definitely nip that in the butt if that's going on, because that for sure is the destruction of a lot of friend groups, a lot of female friendship groups, is the fact that, people in friendship groups, especially women, they're always gossiping about each other, good and bad. Like, they're always like, oh my God, like this, that. And I can't believe what this girl did. And then you guys could all be friends and just be gossiping amongst each other. And it creates just a lot of, negativity. So I don't think that it's impossible for friendships of 3 to remain, as a whole. I just think it requires a lot of communication, and it requires, sometimes for us to be the bigger person and to extend that hand and just be like, oh, like let's hang out or whatever, instead of letting our own thoughts and assumptions about a situation spiral. I hope that helped your situation. Let me know how it works out. Again, please just keep me updated because I definitely am invested. The last question I'm going to answer, I'm already like at minute 25 and I've only done the question portion, but I'm not mad about it because this is seriously one of my favorite segments now of the podcast. So the last question is views on fornication being a sin since you're in a relationship but not married. Oh, girl, you were sent on behalf of the Holy Spirit, girl. Oh my gosh. You don't even understand right now. I gotta take a second. I have to take a second and just gather my thoughts because I am genuinely convinced that you were sent on behalf of the Holy Spirit. So actually, I'm gonna be super transparent and honest with you guys. This has been on my mind for some time now. And I don't want to scare anyone, okay? Do not be scared to pursue, your relationship with God or try to, find your faith just because you see that like, okay, she's doing this. I'm not going to be able to do that. Do not freak out. Okay. This is just my journey, my experience. And that's why, I have to also just reiterate that because I know everyone on this podcast comes from different backgrounds, comes from different religions, comes from all these different walks of life. And you are 110% welcome here. And I never want what I'm saying to come off as judgment to any of you guys. This is just where I'm at right now. So I need you guys to understand that. So when the question is whether, how I'm dealing with, sex being as it's a sin because I'm not married. So when I first started going to church, I did receive some convictions, and basically what that is just an inclination that you feel of something that you should or shouldn't do, right? And I've kind of talked about that briefly in the last episode. And when, obviously you start diving into your faith a little bit more and you're reading the word and, you're really just trying to connect with God on a different level, you start to get different convictions presented to you. And this one in particular has been wrestling with me a lot because it is obviously such a hard thing to tackle. Like, how do you go from having sex with your partner for the last 8 years of your life to now not having sex with your partner? And when I think about that, there was a lot of things that I was trying to just like work around it. Obviously I understand why in the Bible it pretty much says any sex outside of marriage is a sin. This is like where I'm at right now. I'm stuck in the middle. Part of me is understanding that when this was written, obviously women were getting married a lot younger, 15, 16, 17, sometimes even 14. Now we have women getting married a lot later in life. So I'm over here thinking, yeah, of course you shouldn't be having sex before marriage if you're 15, 16 years old. And, back then the custom was you were waiting for marriage. And I think there's something so beautiful and special about that. To have that willpower to wait till marriage, like that means that honestly, you have a crazy amount of strength. And I think that is an amazing virtue. So when I was starting to like just think about this a lot and it was just being presented in my mind more and more, I was like, well, you know what? Like I've been with Richard for 8 years. Like that is my partner for life. Like I know for a fact he is going to be my husband in this life and the next. He is like my soulmate, straight up. And I know this because just seeing the way that he has developed into a man of God, like seriously, like this, like a man that honors God. I just know for a fact that this was just destiny for us to walk this faith together. Like he's been so supportive and just has really just opened up his heart and just has become this completely different person that I, now get to experience. He's in the word, he's reading the Bible every day. He's so intelligent and he's just really used, God to just make himself an even stronger man. So I know that this is going to be my husband. So that's why at first I was like, well, I'm going to get married with him. Like, I understand why you would not have sex with random people because, you're giving a piece of your soul to these people that don't know you. So of course, like if I have single friends that, are just out in the streets, like I'm going to just do my best to tell them, like, I'm not going to judge them, but like, I want them to be safe, and I want them to feel, that their bodies are just like a sacred temple for reals. And, I think that we've come a long way and we've just not really had that type of viewpoint. So right now, like, I'm thinking about it in that terms, like, well, like he's going to be my husband, like I'm going to marry him. I don't feel like it's the same as, if I were going out and having sex with random people and there's me like trying to find a loophole. Like I know what the word of God says. The word of God says that any sex outside of marriage is a sin. And that is hard, because at first I was like, I don't feel convicted about that. I don't feel, bad about having sex with my boyfriend. I've known him for 8 years. He's the only person I'm ever going to have sex with again. I love him forever. So I wasn't feeling bad about that. But then slowly but surely, like I just started to feel like, wait, like maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we should wait. Like, and I don't know what the reason for that is, like in terms of, our relationship, because we've been together for 8 years, I don't know. I mean, I do kind of know. I feel like a big reason would be, God wanting us to get married already. Maybe he's like, you need to stop this for a minute because now you have all the perks of getting married and you need to hold off on this because I need to bring you to marriage. Like, I see that now. Like, it's so crazy. Before I never, prioritized getting married. I think me and Rich were kind of just like, oh, like we knew like we wanted to, but it wasn't something that was at the like forefront of our like mind. And now it's what we are really trying to do. And a lot of people don't understand it. It's like getting married is super difficult, not because of our choice that we've already decided that's what we want, but it's like financially too. We didn't have that as a priority. Getting married wasn't a priority for us. So, you need to understand too, like there's a lot of financial things that go into place with it. There's just so much. It's not just like, okay, like let's just, I never envisioned myself driving to a courthouse and just getting married like that. Like, it's just, that's not what I ever pictured. But, obviously now that, we talk a lot about marriage, I just like it's less and less about my idea of the big wedding and just more and more my unification with Richard under God as the witness, So it's crazy that you bring that up because I've already kind of been talking to Richard about it. We haven't like decided anything together, but I just like, y'all, it's in my heart that your girl is going to just stop having sex for a minute. And I know, please don't like, I know it sounds bananas to you, but it's just something that I feel like needs to be on pause for right now. I don't know for how long. I just feel like I need to do what my mind and my heart are telling me I need to do for a minute. And I reiterate that because I feel like people are like, oh, well, who's telling you to do this stuff? Like, who's telling you to stop having sex and who's telling you to da 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 da? Nobody. It's literally like me with my Bible and what's in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously you go to church and sometimes, you hear bits in there, but that's not like, they're not telling you do this and do this. But when you start really just wanting to tap in more to this frequency and more to what God has to offer, there's sacrifices that need to be made. And I think sometimes people get scared of those sacrifices because they want to be in control and they don't want to give up their pleasures and the things that make them happy. But I truly feel that, momentary discomfort or momentary putting myself in positions where I'm not comfortable giving up something is worth, being enlightened. It's worth me being able to connect to God more. Like if I, am able to give this up for a minute and get more revelations and get more insight of what God is trying to have me do, then I feel like that is so worth it. Again, like this is not something that I'm like practicing currently, but I know for a fact, like it's almost inevitable that this is going to happen. And I'm sharing with you guys, like I'm really giving you guys an inside scoop of what's been going on in my mind. Cause this has been super conflicting for me because on the other end, like I said, like he's my partner. I love him. A lot of people would think that, oh, it's not bad that you're having sex with your partner. Like you're with them for so long. And, this is just my specific, journey. And I'm not, I don't think that if that's what you're doing, like, that's your prerogative. And I just feel, sometimes God is asking us to sacrifice certain things. And it really does take a level of trust and faith to, do those things. And, I'm not perfect at all. I'm never going to claim to be perfect in any sort of capacity. And I feel like that is why I also love, knowing God and knowing Jesus, because they just really show so much grace. Like they show so much grace, and time again, people are making mistakes and they're just forgiving them. So I know that like, I feel safe here. I feel safe in knowing that like, if I fall or if I fail, Jesus is going to be right there with open arms. So I've been, like really just trying to figure out what the next step is for me. And it's crazy because, there'll be certain things that, like yesterday was, I'm going to go on a side note, but I was on like a whole, like pretty much like a rabbit hole. And I was, listening and doing podcasts, and, I like to just make myself be smarter. Like, to be honest, like I love to just consume content where I feel like I'm gaining something, where I'm becoming wiser. And, sometimes it is more blissful to live in our ignorance. Like they say, like ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it's better to just, I don't see nothing. I don't hear nothing. But I just know that that's not where I'm at anymore. So I can't go back to that. And I was listening to this lady. Her name is Diana. She is like a religious professor. She was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and you guys need to listen to it if you get a chance. It's an amazing episode. But she's not like a minister or like a pastor or anything like that. She just studies religion. And she was pretty much saying that back then, like the great minds of the world, like, the first great minds that are considered like Plato, Socrates, like all these like, intelligent people, they had a group within each other in which they would try to access this different level of thinking, of knowledge by doing certain things. So they're trying to access this intelligent mind by doing things in like the real world. So some of the things that she said that they would do, which I was so sad when I heard this, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to give up coffee. They, I believe this is what she said. They didn't drink caffeine. I don't know if it was these people or just people that were just in this group where they're trying to get enlightened. No caffeine. They get a lot of sleep. They drink a lot of water. They, what else? Exercise, like really, really strong. And a lot of them fast. Like, and I know sometimes people don't understand the reasons for fasting, but when you put your body in an uncomfortable situation, when you revert from just wanting to be comfortable all the time and you start doing things that are difficult, it allows you to really tap into your mind. And that is the way that God connects with us, through our soul, through our mind, through our heart. So when we're, fasting, like we just finished doing our 21-day fast at church, it's because, I hope this is making sense to you guys. They're trying to connect to God by sacrificing and doing things that are difficult. And to be honest, the 21-day fast wasn't even that hard for me, because we didn't really do it. Me and Richard didn't do it the way the church was doing it. We kind of like, we're still eating all kinds of stuff. We just didn't go eat out. So that's, they were telling us that you can pretty much give up whatever you want. It's kind of like Quaresma, how you give up, something for I don't know how many days, and then you eat meat, you don't eat meat on Fridays or something like that. It's pretty much the same thing. But when I was reading this, I was like, oh, I'm trying to tap in. Like, I'm trying to tap in so hard, like to this level of frequency, because I felt it before where, God's telling me to do something, he's explaining something. And I'm like, okay, how can I get more of him? Like, how can I really just tap into my mind? And, our mind is so amazing and capable of just understanding so many things. And we are such intelligent human beings that it's crazy that we only tap into like 5% of our brain. I think it's like 4 or 5% of our brain. I need to look that up because I don't want to be giving you guys misinformation, but how much percent of the brain? I might this is like a 1%. Oh, okay, I was wrong. This is a 1% podcast, so bear with me. Humans only use 10%. That's still a crazy little amount. 10% of our brain. You know how much knowledge is probably in there that is untapped? So now I'm over here trying to figure out ways to just really operate on a different frequency and really just connect with God. And I know that there's shortcuts to doing that. A lot of people, they'll talk about like, psychedelics and shrooms and all this stuff. But I just know that I can do that. I can operate and really connect with God just by doing the things in my life, like right now, like fasting, giving up sex, like, really just putting myself in a position where I can interpret what God is telling me to do. So it is really just heavy on my heart. And it's crazy that you asked me that question, because I'm telling you, girl, yesterday, I was just like really just trying to figure out, okay, like, are you going to get the courage to do this? Like, and I've been, again, I'm on the fence. I'm not saying that, I'm not going to slip up or anything like that, but I do want to go on like a sex fast and see how that works out for me. And I know that sounds crazy, because y'all, like a year ago, I was talking about just all different type of ideologies about how, I don't even want to get into the things I used to think and say, but I feel good. Like, I'm not scared, or I don't feel like I'm, gonna be just like chained. Like, I feel like it is tapping into this different mind when you do these things. And I feel like a lot of the times people just see them as restrictions, and why would you do that? Like, you're taking away something that you love, or why are you giving up this, or why are you giving up that? I understand that it may seem and look crazy, but when you're trying to just follow God and what his word says, it makes sense. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but girl, that question was a good question. But yeah, I'm conflicted about it for sure. Half of me is like, he's my partner for life. And the other half is like, that's not what the Bible says though. The Bible says that that's not allowed. So, I can try to make it fit into my world and try to make the word, but I love him and he's my partner and we're going to get married. I could try to do that. And like, I've been doing that, but I think deep down, I know that that's not right. And I need to just go on a fast. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys hear this episode, hit me up and tell me what you think. So since we're already at minute 42, and I really love where this episode went. I love that it was just like really connecting with you guys in the questions. I feel like this is a perfect segue into pruning. I feel like me talking about, giving up something for a minute is something so big as, sex. And me just, being very vulnerable and sharing that with you guys is a perfect segue into pruning. Because pruning, for those of you who don't know, and again, this can be applied to anybody of any faith, of any background. Pruning, I'm sure you've heard it before. It is in term of like gardening and, doing stuff in the garden, like leaves and stuff. So the act of pruning is pretty much when you cut off pieces of like a branch or like a tree that needs to be like pruned. So you cut off the things that no longer serve its purpose. So the definition of pruning, I wrote it down here, says the removal of certain parts of a plant that are not useful, which encourages good growth and good patterns. So this whole idea of pruning can be applied to yourself right now, wherever you're at in your life. I feel like 2024 has such a crazy amount of momentum and energy. I just feel like this year is going to be such an amazing, great, wonderful year with a lot of blessings and just a lot of growth, for reals. Like, I'm not even joking with you guys. 2023, I was like, I don't know what to expect. Like, I don't know about this year, but 2024, I just feel a very strong momentum. And I know we're already into February, and I know that, usually after January, we're still in Q1 of the year, which is the first quarter of the year. January is a strong month for us. No one's drinking. We're trying to remain, faithful to our New Year's resolutions and our goals. And then slowly but surely, we kind of start to fall off. And this happens to so many of us. So pruning is a really great way to make sure that you continue to have a strong, powerful momentum throughout the year, not just the first month, not just the second month, but throughout, this year, like literally the next couple of months, that you are continuing to be strong. And we can prune in our own life by just looking around and seeing what we need to cut back on and what we need to remove in order to get ourselves to the next level. It's so important that we're constantly looking at, where we're at in our life, right? and where we're trying to go and what things that we're currently doing right now that are stopping us from getting to that next level. We have to do that. It's really hard sometimes when we have to prune, because we're essentially we're cutting things that, in our life that maybe are not serving us purpose. And it doesn't mean that, I'm cutting that friend off and I'm cutting this off and I'm never doing it again. It could just be that for this next period of, 2, 3, 6 months, whatever it is, I need to focus and I need to prune. And that can look different for every single one of us. For maybe someone out there that's looking or listening to the podcast, maybe they have decided that they really want to prioritize their health. They really want to get healthy. They want to feel good for their summer. What do you need to prune in your life right now? Maybe you need to prune and delete the Uber Eats app. Maybe you need to prune and, stop being comfortable and going out to get fast food when you got food at home. Maybe you need to prune and just remove the things that are making you not want to wake up and go to the gym before work, or whatever that may look like for you. Okay. Like everybody has, I'm sure, if you look at your life right now, home, this actually isn't bringing me closer to my goal. So I feel like right now, maybe I'm not going to do this. And I'll give you an example of one of my prunes. I know dry January is over. But for sure, right now, I'm pruning alcohol. I'm not going to drink alcohol. And I spoke about it in the last episode. And this is not this is just for me, myself and I, I've realized that I just operate so much better and I feel so much more clear when I am sober, straight up. So I had, spent November, the whole entire month of November, not drinking. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink again for December. I got super intoxicated for Christmas Day, which I was so upset about. I was so just I felt bad, because one, I wasn't trying to get to that level. And I'm not talking about I had a few drinks. I was blacked out in my own house. And I just realized damn, Les, you just did so well. And I know you shouldn't, I know some people would listen to this and be like, oh, you're just being so hard on yourself. You just got, te pasó las copas. But I know that it's a chain effect. I get like that. I get, the anxieties, my hangover lasts 3-4 days. I spent 4 or 5 months of drinking to the point where I would then experience crazy hangovers, you guys, to the point where I was throwing up, had very bad headaches, and I wouldn't learn my lesson. I just kept on drinking, and I don't know, sometimes you just need to be reprimanded, I was really getting really bad hangovers that I've never experienced in my life. And I have been drinking since probably 18. I've been drinking for a minute. So I started getting really sick and I was like, what's going on? And I'm so hard-headed. I just wanted to keep doing it, even though I knew that it was causing me a lot of emotional damage, physical damage. It was making me super lazy. I was, hungover for 2 days. You can even ask Richard, I would not even be able to get out of my bed. And I have goals. I have things that I'm trying to do. I have places I'm trying to go. I have expectations for myself, and I have to be really honest with myself and ask myself those questions. Me being hungover in bed for 3 days is only going to get in the way of that. And I owe it to myself, and you owe it to yourself to be the best version that you could possibly be. And you can get there. It is so possible to operate at just your peak performance capabilities. I believe that we're so just resilient and strong, and every person that taps into this podcast, you guys, I just see the community, and you guys are just on another level for reals. You guys inspire me in so many different ways. And when I really thought about this episode of pruning, I was like, okay, this is perfect. I know there's so many of us out there that we just have a vision for our life, and we, have expectations for ourselves. And I know that sometimes it's hard to look at our current situation and ask ourselves how we can, get ourselves to the next level. But I'm sure if you just take a moment and maybe write down, where you want to be in 3-6 months, and you look at, what can I do today to help me get there? You'll feel so much better, and you'll feel so much more accomplished. And I think that sometimes we look at it, I'm telling you to, just ask yourself where you want to be, but it really is a one day at a time. It's a everyday battle to just, I'm only focusing on what's right in front of me. What's right in front of me is today. what can I do today to just be the best version of myself? And I feel like that's the best way to look at any type of like project, situation, career goals, is to just take it one day at a time. Really just focus on what you can do today to become a better person. And I truly believe that pruning is the perfect way and the perfect thing that you can do right now that's going to set you up for success. Look at your life and say, okay, you know what? Maybe for the next 3 months, I'm going to hit the gym, or not hit the gym. Because you prune, you take stuff back. Maybe for the next 3 months, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go out so I can finally do that project that I've been wanting to do. For the next 3 months, I'm going to stop drinking because I know that, I have a project that I'm trying to do. I have a podcast I'm trying to start. So I got to sacrifice that for a minute, but it's going to produce more in the long run. We're pruning right now. We're looking at our life and seeing how we can, cut certain things out, but we're doing it because we're going to see more gain and more fruit in the future. And the Bible talks about this. There is a analogy, and that's pretty much like, a lot of the times I know reading the Bible can be kind of confusing because there's a lot of like analogies and metaphors. But John chapter 15, we see Jesus explaining a story, right? And he's talking about a grapevine. He's talking about the fact that there's this grapevine and he himself who's Jesus, is the vine, and we are the branches. So Jesus is the vine, we are the branches, and then we have God, who is the gardener, who's going to come around and just snip wherever areas need to be snipped, and he's going to snip the branches that are not producing fruit. So, they use this analogy to help us understand that sometimes pruning, it does hurt, but it's necessary for us to develop stronger and to, bear more fruit. And I love that analogy because I'm like, that's so true. Like sometimes, it does hurt to maybe not go out for 2 months, or maybe it does hurt to, not hit the Uber Eats app or start turning down, invitations to go out all the time because you need to save money. But the fruit that's going to come from that is just worth it. And, we definitely right now want to be like as comfortable as we possibly can. Like we just live in a society that is, always looking for comfort, but the best people and the most inspiring people are constantly pruning. They're constantly looking at ways that they can better themselves. They're assessing, what their environment is, how they can perform at their maximum capacity. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm trying to be performing like a full-on athlete. Like I'm trying to be operating like RIP Kobe Bryant. Like these inspiring people that you see them and they're just like, they're so on it and they're so focused. Of course, they're going to also spend time to just look at their life and be like, oh, that's not serving me no purpose. There's a time and a place for everything. They're not saying that you're never going to have pleasure again. You're never going to have fun again. You're never going to do X, Y, and Z again. But when you're in a season that needs to be pruned and a season that needs to be focused. And right now we're in a season of just, preparing ourselves for the abundance of what's going to come. We're preparing ourselves for just like an amazing year, and we really have to stay focused on that. So I hope that this is an encouraging, positive message. And I hope that, you guys hear this and you're like, yeah, like I'm ready to prune. I got this. Like I'm going to prune and I'm going to delete Uber Eats app. And, or I'm going to prune for 2 months and I'm going to, turn down all the invitations to go out because I need to save money because I'm trying to buy a house, or, whatever your case may be. There's just so many things I'm sure that we can prune on. Mine for sure is the drinking. The drinking is gonna take a pause, and y'all know that I love to have me a glass of wine here and there, and we'll see. I feel like, when I'm ready to drink again, I'll drink again. And it's not going to be like, oh my God, like, I'm not saying I'm never going to drink again, but I just feel right now, like I have a lot of, goals with this podcast, and a part of, being able to speak on this podcast and be confident in what I'm saying and just know that I'm providing the best content that is useful, that is, of value. I need to be clear-headed. I need to be operating at like max capacity, working out, making sure I'm, learning and just being smart, because I want to give you something of value. like straight up, I'm trying to give you something of value. And, pruning it's a really beautiful thing. It's a blessing. It's not a punishment. It's not like a bad thing. It's actually, a good thing. Cause, if you're a strong branch and, and God is like, oh, I need to, remove that for a second, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, just so that way we can shape you a little bit more. We can make you stronger and that you can, achieve the goals that you have in mind. And, pruning is another way for us to make room in our lives for whatever new thing God has coming for us. I love the message that, our pastors explained. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We had Pastor Keith, and I've never heard him before, but he was just like top tier. He was really throwing in some gems. And this is honestly something that can be applied no matter if you believe in God or not. Like really, I'm sure there's something in, your current situation that you feel like you have no more room for anything else. So what does that mean? That means that, maybe you have a goal to, I don't know, like take the next step in your relationship or whatever. And like, you're looking at your current situation. You're being like, well, how do I do that? You have to really just like, what areas can I just like remove myself from a minute, or where can I just clear out something in my life? Because we're all super busy. We all have so many things, but sometimes we have to just remove and stop doing certain things or start doing certain things in order to make room for whatever God has in store for us, or whatever goal you have in mind for yourself. It's important for us to just assess that. So I feel like this is a really great way to end the podcast, is to just, that's your homework. Like, ask yourself, is there something that you need to prune in your life? Is there something that maybe, if you kind of cut it out or started doing would help you get to your next goal or your next level? Because even though we're in February, you guys, we're still in the first quarter of the month and of the year. We're in the first quarter of the year. So we have a whole 11 months. Clearly, I'm not good at math, but we have like a whole 11 months in front of us. So it's just a lot of opportunity for growth, a lot of opportunity for success, a lot of opportunity for just amazing things. So, I feel like right now that's our homework, is to figure out what areas in our life that we need to prune. What do we need to cut back on? What do we need to, look at and determine whether it's serving us in this current moment, and ask ourselves, to really just assess that, ask God to help you to see that. If you talk to God, he'll tell you, like he'll give you an inclination of where to go. If you just kind of sit with your thoughts for a second and you just like with pen and paper, okay, like, what can I do to help, develop more fruit, in the future? What can I do that's going to actually build me up for success? And you'll get that. So yeah, that's your homework. Figure out what you need to prune. And your also homework is to send my podcast to a friend. I really appreciate you guys. Send my, I said send my podcast to a friend, because word of mouth is really the best way. Oh, and last thing. So it's already February, but I'm going to invite you guys to an event that I'm doing. So my family's business, which if you guys don't know, we have a mini pancake business. We've had it for about a year now. We could do a whole episode on that too, because running a business is hard, especially, a food business. And we do mini pancakes. It's me, Richard, my dad, my mom, like we all get together. Isaac helps sometimes too when we have events. And it has been such a rewarding experience to have that with them. So we have this mini pancake business, and we do like pop-up events, and we usually do a lot of catering. And I'm so grateful, y'all, because this month Batter House is booked and busy. So shout out to that. We're actually going to be popping up at Jesse's Grind, which is in Winnetka. It's a coffee shop. I've talked about it on the last episode. We're going to be there slanging our little pancakes. So make sure you guys pull up. It's February 17th. And I would just love to connect with you guys in person. If you guys are supporters of the podcast, it would just mean so much to me. So definitely pull up Saturday, February 17th. We'll be there with pancakes, and you get coffee and pancakes together. I feel like that's just the ultimate combination. So yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you guys on the next one. I love you so much. Have an amazing day, and ask yourself what you need to prune. Bye.